Hello, hello, my bunkers! Welcome back to another episode of Katawa Shoujo. Last time we left off, we talked to Rin for the first time, and she thought we had pee-pee problems, but we don't have pee-pee problems. Alright, let us continue. So we're gonna jump right into it. What an intriguing person. From inside, I hear a muffled sing-song voice. I heard that. What'd you hear? I jump at the sudden appearance of Misha, who had not heard approaching despite the complete empty hallway. Somehow she's gotten to jumping distances without me making a sound. Creepy. Briefly, it reminds me of Kenji's nutty theory about a global feminist conspiracy, but I pushed that thought aside. Shizune, standing slightly behind Misha, looks aloof as she couldn't have heard that remark that drew Misha's attention, but Misha is visibly excited. No, wait! More importantly, who's there? There's no club meeting today. She tries to curiously peek past me, even though the door prevents her from seeing anyway. What are you doing here? It took you so long that we had to come check on what's wrong. It's no good, He-chan. She waggles her finger at me scoldingly. I found plywood, but everything else is still missing because you are a tardy. Oh, sorry, I got the things here. Was just hoping to bring them. I think you were up to some mischief, He-chan. Who's in there with you? I wonder. Misha sighs something quickly to Shizune, pointing at her own ears a couple of times. Shizune immediately pushes her way past me and opens the door into the classroom I just left. I can only imagine the shock she is experiencing. With Shizune's diligence and attitude, the insolence of daring to deface school property by sleeping on top of it must be too much to bear. All indeed, she stares at Rin, frozen in place apart from the slight but noticeable trembling in her shoulders. From suppressing rage, I'm sure. Instead of blowing up, Shizune takes a few deep breaths, adjusts her glasses, and slams the door shut, turning to the full slide fiercely at Misha. Maybe she did blow up, but I just can't understand. She shoots a very loaded stare at me too, as if it was somehow my fault that Raid is sleeping on one of the tables. I hope she's not getting any funny ideas about the reason of my tardiness. Hello? Rin's voice comes from the side of the door, and it takes a few eye blinks to realize that she might have trouble opening it. I open the door to find Rin deliberately behind it, looking at us with half-interest, sleepy face. Hello. ... Miss Tezuka, what do you think you're doing? You have absolutely no permit to use school property for such, disgraceful activity. I'm sure it's very sudden. Very crowded here. I didn't think I was this popular. It's hard to say whether she's happy or unhappy about the turn of events. At any rate, she ignores Misha and Shizune, scolding, so that they have no choice but to drop the issue. Excuse me. Shizune taps her shoulder, points at Rin, and makes some quick signs. ... Popularity aside, please don't do that anymore. ... Anyway, how is your project going? Will it be done for the festival? Rin looks at them blankly, apparently at ease under the pressure of Shizune's cold stare is putting on her. I wonder about that myself too. ... And? Well, think about it harder. As Misha sighs her reply to Shizune, her face turns into an unsatisfied frown. ... Miss Tezuka, please take try to take this seriously. It'll be a disaster if the wall looks like someone threw up their lunch onto it. Rin nods aggressively. We'll think more serious. Misha actually giggles at that, but Shizune doesn't not even after translation. She just shakes her head, takes the materials from me, and takes off with Misha in tow. Rin frowns thoughtfully as she looks after the retreating student council duo. How rude. It's true though. I must finish my project before the weekend. There will be dire consequences if I don't. The end of the world as we know it. Like weekends usually are, but more dire. Much more dire. Maybe I'll postpone my nap to the unforeseen future. That's how it is when you're an artist. There's no sleep. I'm about to ask what project she has and what are these apocalyptic consequences, but she walks back into the classroom. Since you have nothing to do, would you give me a hand? This paint can doesn't fit into my bag, but I need it. She kicks lightly at the huge paint can that's lying on the floor next to the table she was sitting and sleeping on. It lets out a dull clang. Being the gentleman I am, I naturally pick it up. Heavy. Yeah, sure. Where do you need it taken to? Away. And with that, she takes off to the hallway. Me and the paint can follow since there is little choice for either of us. The hallway is quiet and empty now. Shizune and Misha are gone, so we are to leave towards the stairwell as at the other end. Every 10 or 15 or 20 steps, I have to change the can from one hand to another because of the thin handle cuts into my palm. At least it keeps my arms from getting too tired too fast. Rin strolls beside me with an uneven pace that I have trouble with matching, or maybe I am walking weird because of the extra weight. It seems one of us is constantly walking too slow or too fast, but I can't figure out which. 2 flights of stairs, trouble appears in the form of the head nurse and his fox-like grin. Ah, Mr. Nakai, what a happy coincidence. Tezuka, too, of course. He nods courteously to Rin. Why does Rin not acknowledge him back? Then turns to me because obviously it's me who had some business with. There is something I forgot to mention on Monday. I nod and wait impassively because I can't even begin to guess what he forgot. The feeling of the handle delivering deep into my skin doesn't make me feel enthusiastic about the interruption either. It's about your medication. Since you have been that long on your current medication, there might be some unexpected side effects, which might require adjusting the dosage or even changing to another kind of medication. So, we will do a few tests regularly, but what I want for you is that to keep an eye on everything in your condition that feels off. You know what I mean. Nausea, headaches, anything, come see me if something happens. Alright. So how are you? Everything fine? I give up and drop the can to the floor before answering him. Apparently this takes longer than my biceps can handle. I'm about to say something generic as an answer, but I realize how often I've done that lately. Other people have asked me that too. Teachers, students here, my parents, visitors, nurses, doctors at the hospital. Everyone seems to be concerned about that. It's natural for a hospital, not so much for a school. Except this school. This small school. And both student base and faculty seem to be very tightly knit. At least that's the feeling I get. and this is not the kind of school that gets transfer students too often. Though that sends a shiver down my spine, but I give a generic answer anyway. ... That's great. Also, one other thing. My sources tell me that you've been neither at the school's track or even at the pool, so I'd like to know if you have taken up exercising as I asked. Of course I haven't, but this way of intrigue gives me the feeling that I should have been running my ass off on the track since the very first day. You have people spying on me? Not as such, I just happen to know a few people, but there's not the issue here, so don't try to slip out of it. Well, I was actually just doing some improv weightlifting as an exercise. I pick up a paint can and up and down a few times like sad imitation of a bodybuilder, even though it's weighing down on my arm painfully. The stupid grin disappears from his face for a second and comes back as if it was never gone. Tezuka, would you give us a second? The nurse grabs me by the shoulder without waiting for Rin's permission, which he didn't need in the first place, and drags me aside. When I told you to exercise, I wasn't joking. I understand you're still on your first week and all, but please don't ignore the importance of this. The reason I'm coming down this hard on you is that habits are not easy to form. I'm telling you to slip and postpone. The more you slip and postpone, the harder it'll be. The same with everything like dieting. You can promise me to be more serious about this from now on. Oh man, I don't know what choice to choose. Give me a second as I look it up, because I'm trying to go down Lily's route. Oh wait, no wait. Let me see. Here we go. Your choice on exercise is depending whether yes or no to me. Okay, so choose yes. Okay. Yes, I promise, definitely. He studies me for a moment and then shrugs, smiling again. Okay, that's more like it. If you go to the school track tomorrow morning, you'll meet my spy, who probably has no qualms offering consultation to you if you want to jog a bit. Consultation. See you around. He leaves with a wave of his hand and no answer. I walk to Rin, who has been waiting, idly leaning against the hallway wall and staring at the pale light fixture in the ceiling. Even when I approach, she doesn't move her eyes off them. Are you getting medication for your heart thingy? Were you listening? It comes out a little more accusatory than I intended, accidentally lashing out on her. But even so, I don't really want to start talking about it. I just met her. I don't know her. It's not her business. The nurse seems happily ignorant about this confidentiality too, talking about that kind of thing in public. But it's not Rin's fault, is it? I look up at her, suddenly feeling a bit guilty, but Rin is just staring past my shoulder, inquisitively, head tilted like a bird's. Sigh. I don't really know why this is so hard for me. It feels like there's something inexplicable lock that prevents me from being more upfront about this. Yeah, it's for my heart. Will it make you better? No, not really. It'll just make me a little less worse. Oh, that hurts. That's how I feel. Because, like, this is for you. It'll make things a little less worse. It won't ever make you better. It'll just make things less worse. And that's the sad truth. And it's really hard. Oh, man. That hit a little close to home. I've been going through some stuff, and that hit a little close to home. Alright, let's continue. Rin looks at me for a while longer, and she neither says anything further nor displays any kind of emotion I could discern. I'm thankful she doesn't. I think I'm not quite used to all this. At the hospital it was easy, but I still haven't sorted out my feelings about having to live a normal life with disability. We leave the main building, and Ren leads us towards the dorm. We stop at a small patch of greenery in front of the dorm building. The dorm is built on a slightly elevated ground, with a wall and a few trees that everyone had to circle around every time they come or go. It's probably the only inconvenient design of the school. The entire wall, made of the same kind of bricks as the building itself, has been covered with some sort of paint. Most of it's still quite sketched on. Lines have been drawn with black and white against the gray plaster that covers almost the entire length of the wall, but some places look a bit more finished. There are human faces and legs and hands. I can't quite say what the painting is as the whole might portray. The stacks of what seems to be paint cans are arranged in piles on the ground besides the wall. See, that left side is hardly off the ground yet. It's because I didn't get in the mood yesterday, so I gave up and went to meditate instead. That's when it's almost suddenly morning. I have to work on it, but the guys from the art class are helping with the negative space and the base surface, whenever, which is a problem. It's easy to paint a big easel if there's lots of people with hands. The reach is better and faster too. She goes on a tangent, waving a little with her arms whenever it actually is to demonstrate, even though I got the point already. The white cotton of her sleeve flaps around, and it makes me think it could look sadder than it does. It makes me feel out of place, almost like every tangible reminder of a student's special properties has in the past few days. I can talk, I promise. The girl doesn't notice my dreary feeling, of course, or the fact that she lost me a while already, and just keeps blabbing on. So that's why I'm trying to figure out if there is something I need to figure out, and then figure out before it's too late and all hope is lost. Why would all hope be lost? Because paint has to be painted, and then it has to be dried, and then it has to be painted over again with some kind of paint. It takes time. She finally stops, apparently thinking she made some kind of statement that makes sense. I think it's the best to start from the top. So, this is your project? You did this? Yes, and yes. And all of it. Yes. Nice, but I stumble with words, suddenly feeling like I've been walked straight into the minefields of political incorrectness. It's okay, you can say it. I probably won't get mad. I blush really hard. I don't know what would be the right thing to say, if any. It feels like I'm way more sensitive than Rin is, though. This is really awkward. Don't you want to ask? How do you paint without hands? I see. I'm an easy person to talk to, right? With my feet. I almost guessed that already, but isn't that hard to do? You're good at guessing. Anyways, I don't think it is, but maybe I'm used to it by now. I can't get my mind around the fact that she could be an artist, but seeing how adept she is while using her feet to eat, I figured painting might not be a problem either. Neither of us have anything more to add to the subject. The afternoon light works pretty well. I'm afraid it would look too flat, but it's not like that at all, after all. I think it's actually pretty interesting. I want to see what it looks like in dim light. Do you think it looks flat? Well, paintings tend to be flat. No, not like that flat, flat, like some people are. No substance, no meat, where there should be somewhere. Like a few girls, okay, I get it. I could really tell. I couldn't really tell, but I'm not good at with art. And I can name many artists, or I can't really name any artists or any artistic terms. So I don't really have anything to say. Rin shrugs her shoulders at saying suit yourself without saying it and looking up at the sky as she's trying to look for something up there. I don't think I get any of actual work done, but if you give me a hand with the paints, I could do a little before it gets too dark. I wanted to get halogen lamps like the ones they have at the sports track, but there aren't any. Then Rin is sure quick to recruit my help, as was Shizune. It really makes me feel like that the festival is a big project, that every pair of hands is needed. Why not? Why not? I'm not really sure if I can help or anything, though. It's just mixing some paint. You could do that, probably. Do you have motor control problems? Like, those people who have some? Cerebral palsy, maybe? Prize. Not that I know of. And you know what? It's funny because I'm an artist and I have cerebral palsy. It does mess with your motor controls, but I can still draw. I get it. Part thingy that has nothing to do with that. She gives me a shy look for no reason. No, it doesn't. Let's do it then. She sits on the empty wooden box and very naturally picks up the wide brush between her toes and her bare foot right. I open a few of the cans and pour some of the containers into a shallow bowl for mixing. The thick paints flow lazily from the can to the bowl like syrup. I mix them, creating funny, hypothetical-looking swirl patterns that melt quickly into each other to form a new, monotone hue. Rin sets to work, even now and then asking me for hands with something or the other. Finding different brushes is easy though, but mixing paint to be exact tone this girl is apparently seeing in her head is frustrating ordeal. She wants precision done to the last millimeter before she is satisfied, but her instructions are obscure at best. Add a half splash of green. I crouch down to pick up the can of bright green. The other green. This green. I carefully pour some of the other green paint into the mixing bowl. No, that's almost a whole splash. More white. Is green a good color to add? No idea, you're the artist here. A hint of a smile appears in the corners of her mouth. Do you lack an opinion? No, it's just that I have no idea. It's okay, because I got an idea. Add more white. With this exclamation, I pour a minuscule amount of white into the bowl and mix it. It looks slightly whiter. That's not good enough. It has to be like this color. When you wake up and you know you saw the more meaning of life in your dreams but can't remember it. Maybe it's yellow? Despite the impossible of mixing colors like the change of the seasons or any other nonsense that's being imposed onto me, I find myself enjoying it more than I thought I would. Seeing a painting being born on plaster walls feels like magic. It does, it really does. I never painted murals, but I've painted on canvases, and it feels really great. I spend the moments I have been mixing paints, crouching down on the paving, and just looking at her work. It feels slightly intuitive at first, like breaking some imaginary intimacy, but Rin doesn't seem to mind the least bit. Maybe it's just in my head. Her entire presence emits a different, complete air as she patiently works the details, adding layers of paint on top of other layers of paint, steadily moving her foot across the wall to add new shapes. When I managed to produce a passable mix of paint, the rare smile on her face is oddly rewarding. Apart from the few words when discussing paint mixing, neither of us say a word for the longest time. And even after the shortest decisions soon evolve into shorthand, both of us develop and use weird improv code for words of various paints and hues, as if there's some need to conserve words and breaths and sounds. Oh, it's getting dark, it's getting spooky. We stay there late in the evening until it becomes too dark to paint properly. Okay, I think this is a good spot to end. Thank y'all for coming. If you liked the video, please like, comment, and subscribe. And remember, Bakas, stay stinky.